It's the hardest 20 minutes I've ever done. Almost died. Horrible.
Here's everything you need to know about the Hyrox relay. Hey, what is happening people? I'm Woodsy and this is my channel, Woodsy Workout, where I share videos on hybrid fitness and hybrid fitness racing. I've done videos on Hyrox techniques, nutrition, strength running. So if that's what you're interested in, then subscribe to stay up to date. Okay, so we are fresh off the back of London Hyrox, which was pretty epic. I raced in the pro doubles on Friday, and then with the Woodsy fam, we took on the relay on Sunday. Big shout out to everyone that raced. Well done on completing something that was hard and challenging. It was also really nice to hear from a lot of you that have watched the videos and found them useful, and also that have followed our plans and had great success with those. So thank you so much for all your support. I am super grateful. I am also super excited to bring you guys my new book, the Hyrox Handbook, but we'll talk more on that in a bit. So in this video, I'll go over what the Hyrox relay consists of and what are some of the key rules and strategies, and then our general experience with it. For those of you that don't know, the Hyrox relay is done in teams of 4. You do 2 runs followed by a station. The order of the race stays the same, so ski first, then sled push, sled pull, all the way up to warbles last. But you can choose which stations each member does. I did it with my older brother Michael, my younger brother Jamie, and my dad. We are all mixed abilities, but we've all had some experience with doing Hyrox before. So we were in the men's division. There's also a women's division and mixed division, and the age groups are broken up into over 40 or under 40 for your average team age. Everyone uses the open weights for your gender, so here are the weights, and if you are male doing the mixed, then you still do the men's weights, and if you're female doing the mixed, then you still do the women's weights. So our race was at 7:10, but we also had a relay briefing at 6 to explain the rules. So if it is your first time, make sure that you know when the relay briefing is so you can attend that. Here's basically an overview of what they explained. For the relay, the member of your team that is going to go first starts in the start tunnel. The team member that is up next waits in the relay transition zone, which is located in the rock zone. And the other 2 members are free to spectate and wait by the transition zone, but not in it because it gets quite crowded. You always do the run first and then the station, and then you run through the rock zone to the transition zone to tag your next team member in. So the transition zone looks like this. Once you see your team member staggering in, then you can run to meet them, make sure you high five, and then you're free to go. You must follow the layout of the course. So you go out the out gate, then you do your laps, you enter the in gate, then you do your station, you run through the rock zone to your transition zone to tag your partner out. And you can pick the order in which you choose to go, although I wouldn't advise going back to back with your stations. You can still do it. If you do, then you still need to run back to the transition zone before going out again. Once your last team member is onto the warbles, the rest of your team waits by a specific meeting point at the Thunderdome where the warbles are going down, and then a judge will take you over to your team member that is finishing up the warbles. Once they're on their like 80th rep, then you can all cross the line together and it's happy days. One key thing to note there is, depending on the course and where the start tunnel is, the first run might be shorter or it might be longer than the others. As was the case with the London race, the first run was considerably longer, which is partly why we decided to put Michael, who's one of our stronger runners, on the first run. So that was the relay briefing, and then we warmed up and it was go time. Before we get to that, I am super excited to announce my brand new book, the Hyrox Handbook. This book condenses everything that I've learned in the last 4 years, both coaching clients and racing myself as well. And taking the best bits from all of my videos I've done and putting it into a helpful handbook that will be easy for beginners to grasp and for veterans to refer back to for tips and tricks on all things Hyrox. We are talking training, race strategy, running, lifting, what to pack, what to wear. It's all there and it's available for digital download on my website, coactiveperformance.com. Now back to the video.
Pleased with the run, managed to keep a good pace I think. One of the longest skis I've ever done, just didn't end.
I ran a bit too quick. Almost died and fell over on the sled pull. But don't trip over the rope.
So what is it like to do a Hyrox relay? Well, a lot of fun. It's a great introduction to Hyrox. You get a feel for the atmosphere and parts of the race, and you also have your team members supporting you. Each leg isn't too long, so if you sort of mess up your pacing, it's not too bad. But in terms of like the physical demands, it's very different to doing the singles or the doubles. Doing the doubles or the singles is like a 1 to 2 hour sort of grind, whereas in the relay you're doing like 6 to 20 minute bursts of real high intensity with a decent break in between. So it's a very different feeling, particularly at the end of each leg of the relay. You are like really pushing as hard as you can, whereas in a normal Hyrox, you're constantly managing your effort. So you're still working, you're still working really hard, but you're not at like the point of complete breakdown until you get right to the end, and then it is like super exhausting. Whereas with the relay, you're only doing a quarter of the volume. So you go all out and you feel pretty awful for a few minutes after your turn, but then it's not like completely exhausting once you've finished. Another thing I liked is when it's not your turn, you can almost take a step back and like recompose yourself, take in the race, watch how your team is getting on. When I do the singles races, I am aware of people around me, but I'm so focused on my effort and the task that's at hand that I don't always grasp kind of where I am or how I'm really doing. And with this one, like we wasn't really competing for a spot on the podium or anything, but we were sort of right in the middle, and it was cool to see us like trade places with different teams. I could kind of see, oh yeah, those guys were ahead of us here, and now we're catching up to them on this, but then they might have a faster guy coming up next, and it's sort of you can both spectate it and you're part of it, so that's quite cool. And although we weren't the fastest, we did race alongside the fastest. And the current world record holders were racing, and they smashed out like a 50-minute performance. I'll actually try and get one of those on to talk a bit more about that, because I'm really curious to see how they plan and strategize for it. But a few tips that I picked up if you are looking to do your best time. Firstly, remember the rock zone. One of the hardest parts of the relay is actually running through the rock zone after you've finished your station. So to tag your next partner out. Now, sometimes it's longer and sometimes it's shorter depending on what station you've got and how close that is to the relay transition zone. In London, it was located between the rower and the farmers. So if you was on the ski, then that was the furthest from. You still had like maybe 100 meters to run. So you couldn't, you had to sort of manage it a little bit in terms of you couldn't completely sell out on the ski. And whereas if you finished like the farmers or the rower, you just had to like fully send it, and then you just stagger around the corner to tag your teammate in. Second tip along those lines is save your teammate. So as we just said, after the station, your team member is going to be on their last legs and staggering into the transition zone, and you have to high five them before you can set off. But ideally, you want to run to tag them out at the front of the zone, because it's quite about a 12.5 meter stretch. So if you run to meet them rather than they staggering to meet you, then you're going to save time. And then my third and final tip is to manage your rest time after your go. So the quicker you can calm down and recover, the better. So take a moment, take your time, get your breath back. Don't go immediately rushing around to see who's gone on next. And then once you're feeling better, get some water in, get some sugars in. They will help too, because when you're moving really fast, you're predominantly burning glycogen. So I took a Hilltop honey gel. And then also you might be tempted to sort of completely rest and sit down or something, but it's better to stay moving a bit, particularly before your next leg. So it's easy to cool down and stiffen up. So walking around, go watch your teammates, then stretch the legs out, and then get back in the zone, ready for your next effort. So that's all I've got for this video. If I missed anything or you want to add anything, drop a comment. If you enjoyed the video, then give it a like, subscribe to stay up to date. And if you are looking for training plans and guides, then check out my website, coactiveperformance.com. Anything else, you can reach me on Instagram @WoodsyWorkout. Until next time.